Do you often find that your pants don't match the situation? Do you constantly struggle with putting an outfit together? Worry no more. Into the AM All Day Pants have got you covered. These pants work for every occasion, whether you're looking for comfort, style, or simply the flexibility to move however you want. With a premium 4-way stretch fabric, a hidden zippered pocket, and the ability to adapt to any circumstance, these pants are like a Swiss pocket knife, but sexy. And oh yeah, the dog also can't get enough of it. Use the code in the description for a 10% discount. Hello friends and welcome back to a new episode of Harstem Hunts Hackers. Today we have a Protoss versus Protoss game at the 4.5k MMR level, which I think is Masters 2 or Masters 3. It's somewhere in Masters, maybe even Masters 1, I don't know. Either way, the email said that there's a lot of suspicious things happening in this game. There were a couple of points, but I don't like to read the emails too much. I just like to watch the replays and draw my own conclusions, see what I can figure out over here. As PvP, 4.5k MMR, 1 gate expand versus a 2 gate, a 1 gate not expand. Weird build order. Not a huge fan of the Simple One's build order, but we're not here to criticize Simple One. We're here to figure out whether this barcode player is going to be a little bit of a cheater, a little map hacker, yes or no. That's going to be what we want to know. Battery goes down blindly in the main base. This is genuinely quite a bad call. Oh! Genuinely quite a bad call against Phoenix first, but a good call against Oracle first. Possibly, our barcode player here saw the Stargate in production and was a little slow with building the battery, then saw in his production tab, oh, it's a Phoenix, not an Oracle, cancels the battery. I think that is actually a pretty decent explanation. It can also be that he wanted to build it in case there was some type of adept opener, then didn't see any adept show up, or he just made a mistake. He was like, oh, I want to build it here, but didn't. The fact that there's no battery on the low ground at all is kind of suspicious, because usually with 1 gate expands, just in general, you want to get a battery if you don't know what your opponent is doing, because we've had 0 scouting so far. Like absolutely 0 scouting. So that is something that I do kind of want to keep in mind here. I also want to... Sometimes I feel like I'm too much in the first person of the potential hacker and not enough in the overall view. So I'm gonna... Ooh. That was a screen peek. Gonna have to watch that one again for a little bit here. You see that? Cheeky little screen peek in there. Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. What we're doing here with this probe. I think we end up building a forge, right? And then we do the screen peek. I really want to see a quick rego on that. So, poof. Not sure what that's for. Maybe just setting up a camera hotkey, honestly. I mean, it's technically possible that it is just a camera hotkey setup. Wouldn't be super unlikely. Either way, blink is the correct call. So far what do we have? Is we have pretty much the perfect build order, given the 1 gate expand opener. Blind blink versus Phoenix. No battery, despite being unaware of what's happening on the other side. Neither high ground or low ground battery. All of these things at this level, I think are fairly suspicious. Because this build order is absolutely unsafe. Like, even attempting to take a third base with 0 scouting information is really freaking crazy. Right now our barcode doesn't even know if there's a natural on the other side of the map. This movement by itself is not super suspicious either. If you're wanting to take a third base, it makes sense to have your units over there. But the timing of that move is what really gets me, because this is also the time that the Phoenixes are moving in. And this move here is even a little bit too late. It's completely focused on trying to chase Phoenixes that are in the dark space, that are in the fog of war, that he can't see. That honestly is kind of odd. Also, nothing makes me happier than people probably having full vision and still getting killed by Phoenix harass. Like, that is quite frankly just impressive. That you can't take any damage at all against Phoenixes. You could just split your Stalkers in half and never take damage because you're always making the correct rotation. You know if your opponent is moving across the map or not, so you should never be capable of taking any damage. I think what's going to be more informative here is actually not first-personing and just seeing if Stalkers are going to mirror the Phoenix movement or if Stalkers are kind of going to be pre-splitting or just sticking to the same position. I think that's going to be super informative here. Because right now we have 3 more Stalkers being warped in at a slow warp in Pylon, by the way. Yeah, hello. Yeah, eat me. No way. Come on. Is this blink before he even sees it? Like, what's the reaction time here? What is the reaction time? Okay, so he sees it now. Then blink instantly. The movement here is bananas, makes no sense. The speed and the attention to this Stalker move makes no sense. If you're looking for a pylon, you can send a single Stalker to deal with it. If you think if you want to have a spotter, you're going to build pylons here. This would never be the move. Like, all of these things, honestly, haven't been super big, but it's just, it still feels obvious to me. Just within the first 5 minutes. I love that the submittee sent me that he's only 85% sure. I'm 6 minutes in, and right now, I'm pretty freaking sure. I'm much above the 85%. I'm closing in on 98 right now. I don't even think I need to watch the entirety of this replay, to be quite honest. I don't think I do. Very slow with the response here. It's going to move across the map. So we're not going to figure out a lot about screen peeking. Maybe he's been screen peeking, figuring out what his opponent's army is as well. This move out is honestly quite good. I do like this because you're going to get a cancel on the third base. Guaranteed. Like, there's no way that Phoenix player is going to be capable of holding this. Phoenix player also massively out of position, which does suck. More gateways on the way. There's a Templar Archives, which really also feels bad in this type of situation. But third base gets cancelled. There's 46 to 49 workers. Oh my god. Look at this move. Look at this move. I don't think he saw anything. That was just a blind blink, wasn't it? Look at just the move commands that are being issued here. Okay. Selects the Stalkers. Phoenixes are coming from this area right now. Look at the movement. He's just going back home. Then goes down. Then goes to the right. He saw the Phoenixes for legit not even a millisecond. And then blinks forward. I honestly... I'm so secure. I'm so certain in this not being legit. There's just no way. There's absolutely no way. How long is this replay? This replay is going to be 23 minutes. I'm going to watch 2 more minutes. I don't even think I need to. This mirroring is so freaking obvious. The complete lack of vision at 4.5k MMR against someone that is building a crap ton of Phoenixes. The proper move out, the instant blink, like the slowness of responding to certain things, and then the speed at which this Protoss manages to respond to unit movement that is out of vision or is in vision for legit a millisecond. That is so insane to me. That really is so insane to me. It doesn't make any sense. Now we're gonna get another attack. See what we're doing here. So personally, I wouldn't be going up this ramp. Ever in a million years. I guess if you know there's nothing on top here, it's fine. Moves to the side where there's an army. I mean, it's not much to see here. It's just gonna be a regular fight. I cannot believe that you can lose this type of game. If you're playing against Phoenix with Blink Stalker, losing 17 workers to harass is more than just embarrassing. It's really quite pathetic, I think. That is not a good look, my dear friends. Actually, kind of watch a bit more to see how our red Protoss is gonna manage, because this is freaking hard. Good lift as well. Not gonna lie, 1-1 on the way. This freaking sucks. It really does suck. Charge lot moving forward. Blah 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 blah. No real macro behind this. Got some fat pickups. I feel like a good tell that I've learned as well is that when people seem to have, as their only skill, making correct calls in unit movement and unit composition, that by itself is pretty suspicious at the higher levels, I think. That... I think I'm getting better at catching like this kind of circumstantial evidence and putting it all together. Absolutely. Okay, let's go back a little bit in the first person here of our barcode player. are anonymous. More Archons, which is the correct call, but also a logical call if you've seen what he's seen. Even without, you know, having the special vision that I believe our green Protoss has. This is over. This is over. Absolutely. There's just no way. What is this? Not issuing a command, just randomly going to the other side of the map. Just screen scrolling a little bit closer to where the army is. Nah, I'm calling it. This is a hacker. I'm 98% sure. I'm 98% sure. You're gone, Barcode Man. This is not it. The screen peeking, the perfect mirroring of the Phoenixes, the good calls, not doing anything else perfect. 99%. I'm 99% sure that this is a hacker. You, my dear friend, have been caught. Congratulations. Now, before we get into the next replay, I quickly wanted to share this one because this one made me real happy. Here we have I Don't Talk, who sent in the replay, opening up with a pretending to be AFK build order. So 12 workers in the main, 2 bases over here. Our alleged hacker opens up with a 2-1-1 build and sends the medavacs right in between those bases. Wow, that's real suspicious. And indeed, that's a little bit weird. But then just before he arrives, he changes the path to a rally point that goes over here and then right into the main base. And then take a look at the first person here for our hacker. He's just busy building barracks, you know, he's throwing it down. Then he sees this like, oh my god, freaking creep. What's up with that? Drops the Marines down, unloads, stims him forward, clears a tumor, an Overlord, 2 queens, and I Don't Talk decides to leave the game. Now, is it technically possible that this Terran player is a hacker? It is possible, but I find it extremely unlikely. I think if you see someone opening with this particular opener, I think you'd find an excuse to build a Reaper, right? That would be the first excuse. That's the first thing that I would do. You see a dude opening up with a freaking hatch first in the top right, you'd open up with a Reaper. This also just looked like a genuine accidental find. So, yeah, although I appreciate the attempt, I'm gonna guess that our blue Terran here is not a hacker. And if he is, I don't think this game could tell us anything about that. Because honestly, the response to someone proxying 2 hatcheries in the top right is not hitting at 5 minutes and 20 seconds with 16 Marines. It is just sending a Reaper across the map and killing 12 drones for free. So let's hop into our third game. Alrighty, our next game here is between Killa and Hackerinos, who is our alleged hacker here in the Protoss versus Terran. Love to see it. Double gas opener. Now, the email that accompanied this replay said something along the lines of, this is an extremely slow mech player. A lot of weird things, but mainly the way the army moved, I think, was very suspicious. And the general slowness of this player in combination with the quick responses to the things that were happening. So, just going to have a look at that. I'm very curious. I think generally, if you're a map hacker, I think things like mech are pretty smart because you need very little skill for it, like little executional skill, and having info is quite important. Seeing the transition of the opponent, which is hard to gather because you're not putting on a lot of pressure. So if you can figure that out by having, you know, absolute vision, I think that is, yeah, generally a pretty good thing. Let's see what he's going to be up to. So it's coming in for a scout right now. Sees the Twilight Council, doesn't need to click it, goes back home. Lose the Reaper. It's an impressive start. I like it. Misplaces the factory. This is not been the hottest start, okay? This one would not make it into Billboard's top, what is it, hot 200 or hot 100, hot 40, hot 10. This would not be in the top 1000. Okay, double Cyclone, I do like that. You have a tech lab into a starport. The build order is not great, but I think the worst thing that has happened so far is the losing the Reaper. I think this is about 4.6k MMR or so, 4.7k MMR. It seems that's kind of the sweet spot for hackers, or where people think they're being hacked against. So, love to see that. 2 more gates on the way for a Protoss player. I think a good exercise is going to be to kind of figure out, based on what you're seeing, is what this player is going to do. So if I'm this Terran player and I'm seeing Is there a robo? No robotics facility. 2-gate blink. What I want to get is banshees and tanks. I think that's going to be my easy answer here. That's what I'd want to get. Tanks to deal with the blink stalkers, banshees to either counterattack or to deal with the fact that there's no detection really, which would be great. Now we do have batteries on the way as well as a robotics facility. We still have the banshee coming in though, which is not a bad call in general and quite common as well with mech. So maybe it's just unfair really to talk about it. Cyclones moving onto the map. 2 more cyclones at home. Gonna see a swap here, which makes a lot of sense. He has scouted, of course, that he's playing against Blink, so tanks in general are not a terrible call. Losing these cyclones is a wild move if you have full vision, because you can just see that happen. So far I'm honestly leaning quite heavily to this just being a mech player. And something that people don't understand, or maybe, you know, they don't think about a lot, is the fact that at lower levels especially, some players have one really good matchup and then a really bad matchup as well. So it's completely possible that Hackerinos over here, our green Terran, is great in TVZ because mech is really strong in TVZ at lower levels, but is god-awful when it comes to Terran versus Protoss because mech isn't quite as great against this race. So that's something we just kind of have to keep in mind at all times as well when judging these players. Is like, hey, it is completely possible that he's not playing so well just because of that, you know, or he doesn't look so strong. Like this could be like his 20% win rate matchup, while his TVZ is freaking 85%, you know, and then you're still at the same MMR as your opponent, but in reality, you're much worse. So it's always hard to say. Banshee's going to go in, and well, it's going to wait a little bit until Cloak is done. Once again, something that might be informative here is to figure out where the observers are.
Research complete.
So poked in a bit. This is not weird though. This is just standard movement. We haven't seen a single screen peek. Going in, this is highly suspicious. The way that this is happening, by the way. As in suspicious of this not being a hacker. You have to be an absolute moron to go into the base that has a battery in the mineral line as opposed to the base that has a battery in front of the mineral line. This would be the base to attack with your Cloak Banshee. On top of that, if you have seen that there are batteries either in your production tab or because you screen peeked somehow and I didn't manage to catch it, why wouldn't you wait for your second Banshee? I guess because you haven't built a second Banshee, but going in, knowing that there is an observer out, knowing that stalkers are nearby, this has to be legit one of the worst moves in the world. This is absolutely brain dead. If you have full vision. If you don't have full vision, this feels somewhat correct. Also, it doesn't cloak. Okay, there we go. Now it's going to get the battery. The observer should be nearby. No, they just continue flying into this spot. Now going to get recalled. And you fly away. Yeah, good control, decent control on the Banshee. Still a terrible position for the Terran. And honestly, if you're a hacker, you're expecting good early games most of the time. Or at least decent early games. You know, that's kind of where you shine. Oh yeah, I thought that my mouse was on the edge, but this is just, he just screen scrolls everything. Holy crap. Okay, that's wild. Armory, eBay. eBay doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I think. Do we have a prism out? We have no prism out. There's no air threat. There's no DT threat. He's just trying to go back in. We haven't seen a single screen peek. We haven't seen a single crazy call. I am leaning so heavily towards this just being a regular mech player that maybe just isn't so great in this matchup. Like, that is completely possible. Because, boy, is he losing. But then again, he's playing mech against us. We kind of deserve it. And now we have a Prism on the way. We have Hellions. That all feels good. Armory is about to finish as well. 1-1 upgrades for our Protoss. We're going back home. Flying our command center over. This is also plating. What the hell? Surely that's not the actual upgrade we want here. Vehicle plating. It's not the upgrade I would want, at least, if I was a meching Terran. Then again, I'm not a meching Terran. Because I like winning games against Protoss. Okay, now a second Banshee gets thrown down. Little depot drop as well. Let's face it, mechanically this Terran isn't great. Absolutely not. Not a great Terran mechanically, but I don't really care so much about it when I'm thinking of a hacker. finds the stalkers that were ready to go. No tanks sieged up. It freaks me out. I kind of want to take a look at that move again, because that felt weird. Maybe it wasn't weird, but this felt like a weird move. Moving a bit over here. You'd figure siege up. That's what I would do right now. You know your opponent has blink. So we move over into this area to find stalkers. It is really obvious right now for anyone with a brain that there's an observer nearby here somewhere, by the way. Yeah, because these stalkers were shooting up a ramp, right? So one of the things that was mentioned in the email was the fact that the observer got spotted very quickly, but I'm already preempting that by how this Terran could have figured that out. Like, these stalkers having high ground vision and shooting to the high ground is only possible with an observer. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. He's building a planetary here, which is a crazy move. He's now, I guess, sending some units over to this area. Banshee, Hellions. This looks suspicious, but it is also not a crazy thought in general. Like, this is a timing where a prism were to hit. Like, in isolation, this is not wild. The scan on this observer is completely normal. I'm expecting this at this level. Having units in the main base is not crazy, and at this point the prism has been spotted by the Banshee, so it's definitely not crazy to rally more units here. I think so far we legit have zero proof. Like, none. None of this is ever suspicious, even if you add all the things we have so far, which I'm not even sure, but like, it would be the small move towards the Stalkers and then the move towards the Prism. Now, leaving these Cyclones behind is a sensible play. I like that. We're building a Viking, which is also a sensible play. I just think this is a good call. Morphing the Hellbats here makes sense as well preemptively. Tanks are being sieged up. One thing that I find most suspicious out of everything is the complete lack of sensor towers. If you're playing mech, sensor towers are always your best friends because being in position is so darn important. So not having that is really freaking weird to me. It really is. Nice supply block again, by the way. We have some moves of the main army to the left side. That does happen to coincide with the Charged Stalker army being on that left side as well. Once again, I can't... He also just finished a wall here, so this side is way less vulnerable. He's denying the Prism attack heading in towards the main base, so that's also less vulnerable. Like, there's also a planetary here, so this general area is less vulnerable. Like, this feels suspicious. Actually, this movement felt weird. Just having these extra clicks here just before the fight start, that did feel kind of weird. But then again, look at this. Like, I want you all to just kind of remind ourselves that this Prism has just been pushed back, okay? There is a Viking there. Wait, does he send the Cyclones ahead of time? That would be suspicious. Because I was gonna say, if he doesn't pull the Cyclones ahead of time, but just as the fight starts with like an F2 move, then that kind of tracks, you know? Like, you don't want to have these units here anymore once you have the Viking. You kind of want to push them back to the army. So maybe he just forgot, but if he does it just before, like literally a second before he sees the army moving in, then that is kind of suspicious, you know? That is... Yeah, he just F2s his entire army into this location. Just before. Did he unsiege before they became visible too? I want to see that again. Sorry, I'm just gonna... This is such an interesting little interaction. Look at this. Do we have the unsiege before? That's what I want to know. So you have the Viking here moving in. Then he sees now the army starts moving on the minimap. So we send these units back home. After we clear this observer. Right? That was the sequence. So we send it here.
Research.
When does the unsiege happen? As he's being attacked. I don't think he saw that and instantly clicked unsiege. I think the plan was to unsiege because his mechanics are pretty bad. So he doesn't respond to instant things. This is kind of weird. This is kind of weird. It's also a terrible unsiege, by the way. It would have been much better to just keep him there, in my opinion. Move your Cyclone Hellion army back a little bit and fight inside of those two tank ranges. That would have been much superior, in my mind. For CC in trouble. Ooh. I'm starting to change my mind a little bit. I'm not sure. We've had so many bad moves that don't make sense with full vision. The -2 cyclones, losing the Reaper to get some scouting information. This once again was kind of in time to deal with the prison, which is a pretty big deal in my mind. The movement on the Stalkers was pretty suspicious. The unsieging, moving the cyclones back at the right time. I feel like having so many suspicious events happening in a row. That was a nice catch too, wasn't it? That was a nice catch too. I want to see that one again. So we clear this. Then the Viking goes hunting towards the right. The Prism moves away while out of vision. Ah. Goes back though, this Viking. Oh, because of an F2. And then sends the Viking back out to the right. To the bottom. That is kind of mirroring. That is really mirroring. And all of this is completely out of vision. All of this before. Look at this. Look at this mirroring that we're gonna see here. Down, down, down. Why are you so active at clicking here? Why? We have notifications on the minimap. Why are we so active at clicking here? Do we know something? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. He's way too active with this one unit that should be going back for a routine task, patrolling this dead space. That is really odd. That is really odd. I'm gonna just be in the overall zoom mode for a little bit, because I want to see movement more. The mirroring of movement is so big. I freaking love this as well. Planetary at the 3rd to build an orbital at the 4th. That is unbelievable. That is so sick. I've never seen this before. This is the opposite world. This is keeping the most vulnerable base vulnerable while keeping the safe ones well protected. It's very nice. That is so nice. Okay, here comes an attack. Kind of want to see this again. Movement is heavily centered towards the bottom, which is kind of weird because there's nothing there. These two zealots, really? We're finding them like this? That's kind of wild, no? That's kind of wild. Finds this observer as well. Okay, it's not crazy to look for observers. But first the zealots, then the observer. Then we're moving in the direction of where we believe the army is going to go. No vision on the bottom side. Viking, by the way, currently not in the dead space anymore. Hasn't gone to the dead space in a while. Prism gone, will never come back. Let's take a look at the move commands here that are happening. Up. Move commands right back in time. Starting to feel like Killa might have been right about this game. I'm starting to feel that Killa might have been right about this game. Because this is hella suspicious. Terrible army comp, by the way. Probably want more tanks if you're... And maybe some ghost if you're fighting against this many Archons, no? Maybe some mines as well, rather than Thor Cyclone. Still not sure about the vehicle plating level 3 either, before... I guess once it's ahead, you know? Nothing you can do anymore. No defense on the bottom side, despite there not being anything. Look at this move forward. I'm not a fan of that. I think it's a bad call even. Like, this was a bad move, but he did it because he thought it was going to be a good move. Prism gets into the main base, unspotted. This could just be a lack of looking at the hacking minimap. Thor's moving in position now. Okay, and now is going to be very instructive. Because Hackerinos hasn't moved downstairs a single time to defend this in a long time. And there's really no reason for Hackerinos to suspect that there's going to be an attack on the bottom side. So the movement here of the main army is going to be more instructive than anything. So we're seeing an attack towards the bottom, attack towards the bottom. I think we just... Where are we going? I want to see this first person. I want to see this first person. It's so important for me. So we go here, and then we're gonna move command towards. You have to move command towards our 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever base it is. Okay, moving back towards the middle. Mules. This is a legitimately terrible call if you know you're about to be attacked. Starts a depot. 2 depots. Okay, I'm at a loss here. This seemed like the most legit move I've seen in my life. His army, I don't think is moving far enough in this direction yet. He's trying to build a depot wall here. Cancels that the moment he sees the zealots come in. Like, this looks so legit. He's either a master forger of legit moves or he is legit. Dude, this is such a hard one. Because there's so much suspicious crap. But then this one and a couple of other moves, they just make me look at it and think to myself, this makes no sense. Like, who would start the depots there? It even was on his screen already when building the depots. I just don't know. I just legit have no clue. I feel like there were so many crazy moves. The stuff with the prism, the finding the 2 zealots. The small movements as his opponent was going in position to attack him. But then there are so many things that just don't track at all. And I know people will say, oh, don't forget that hackers aren't that great. Yeah, they're not, but they're good at looking at the map usually. And he was moving in that direction with his army. Why would he start depots? He was moving in that direction with his army because he knew there was an army there if he's a hacker. Why would he start the depots? It makes no sense. You can't make it make sense. The logic just isn't there. Okay, we have a move downstairs, which I like. Did he end up losing that orbital, by the way, down there? What happened?
Upgrade complete.
Okay, there's an army here as well. New CC. Hackerinos at 173 supply. No vision on the top side. Prism still around. He also doesn't have hotkeys. This is literally just F2 the entire time. All army hotkey till he dies. Okay, morphs into Hellbats before a fight. Could just be because he wants to push though. Because pushing at this point, where you're building your base, honestly, kind of makes freaking sense. This is a good run by. Love that. Love that for Killa. Okay, this doesn't track at all. Oh my god. There's no logic in this game. So, if he wants to push out, and he's morphing Hellbats because he wants to push out, then why does he turn around all of a sudden? If not to deal with this Zealot run by that he has no vision on. Does he just midway through realize, after chasing this away, seeing that his army is bigger in this fight, like, oh, wait a second. It is still possible there's a prism here on the top. Maybe I should deal with that by moving my entire army there. Which is obviously a weird call. Also a bad call. You could just do that with your Cyclone Hellion that you have. 14 Hellbats, 14 Cyclones. Should be enough to deal with these Zealots. Absolutely. This is the hardest one. This guy either has 500... He's like an alternating brain between 5,000 IQ and 10. Or he's hacking, but then also needs to have an alternating brain. It's like an on and off relationship with his hacking program where it doesn't work half the time. Holy crap, this makes no sense. Let's see if he's gonna respond to this attack here on the bottom side, magically. No, he's not. Could be because he's busy dealing with this crap. He's getting seriously outplayed by Killa, by the way. Can I just say that? Yeah, I can. Like, just completely out of position. Is that because he's slow? Is that because he doesn't have map hacks? I actually don't know. This also would be the army I would build if I had hacks, by the way. I wouldn't rely as much on tanks. Tanks are good for spreading out over many bases and keeping you safe. Those are really powerful in straight-up engagement. This planetary should fall too. Killa's playing a nice game. He's really neat movement. Prism, constant warpins. I do like this. Now we're just going to get a big fat all-army attack across the map. Killa should go for the base trade here. Throw down a Dark Shrine. You have like freaking 20 gates. Throw down a Dark Shrine, kill all the buildings, and then kind of start sprinkling DTs into this guy's army. There's no Raven, you just win the game. Doesn't have a Dark Shrine. Or get Disruptors out. Also good. Then you're base trading and Disruptors at home. You're throwing stuff at these Thors, which is really nice. Yeah, this is the correct call. I don't think we're going to get any more info here this game. This has been the hardest one, though, that I've ever seen. Is he going to siege the tanks now? If he sieges the tanks ahead of this fight, that would be crazy. Like, look at this. He's just busy right-clicking this pylon. And then the moment this dude attacks him, that's when he turns around. Not a second before. I would expect a pre-siege up. Absolutely, 100% of the time. But it's just not happening. He's not responding to these triggers at all. This guy is a genius or a clown. This is the highest IQ hacker I've seen, I think. If he is a hacker. CC floating in the top. Triple Stargate. Honor actually wins in a straight up engagement, by the way. 11 Thors versus 30 Zealots. 13 Hellbats there as well. 9 Cyclones. You obviously want to fight as much as possible so that you have time to rebuild before you lose production. Like, you want to fight in an open area, clear like 3 Thors, move back a bit, get more units, and then just rinse and repeat the entire time. These are just some quick tips if you're struggling with mech. Once again, Dark Shrine here would have gotten you a guaranteed win, by the way. Absolutely guaranteed W. Add some productions on the outside bases. Maybe some robotics facilities for potential, you know, Stargates. That's a bad call if you're fighting 12 Thors. Okay, here we go. There's no clues to be gotten here. No clues. Oh, this is a fat win, isn't it, for Kill? Well done. Good W. I'm of two minds here. I actually just don't know. I have no clue. I'm not going to be sending this into Blizzard because I'm just too confused. This could be anything. No GG, that's what it is for sure, but I just legit don't know. There were so many suspicious moves. Well, so many. There were a couple of suspicious moves, then a couple of things that could be coincidences, could be suspicious. And then there were a lot of moves when nothing is happening, where he just does the wrong thing. And then there's a lot of moves where if something is happening, he also does the wrong thing. And I kind of can look past that, where it's like, hey, this dude is probably pretty slow, doesn't have time to look at the minimap when he's dealing with a drop. But sometimes he wasn't dealing with anything, and he was looking at the right spot. That depot move at the fort base, that's doing a lot of work here for Hackerinos. I would say there's about a 60% chance, 65 to 70, 70% chance that this guy's a hacker is what I would go for. Because there's too many weird coincidences, like that Viking control, the find on the Zealots. But I don't feel comfortable at all, especially not on one replay. I need to see more replays, and I need to see more of these weird coincidences. This was a wild play. Holy crap. Yeah, I'm undecided. I'm sorry. No decision here. The judge has no clue. Pass it on to you guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right, it's going to be it for me today in this video. If you did enjoy this, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll see all of you next time for a new and even better video. Thanks, and bye-bye.